everyone. So happy to be with you on this Thursday. Jen, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Well, I'm glad it's Thursday. I'm glad we get to connect and do this. And
Yeah,
yeah,
yes. Hello, Patrick. Nice to have you here. I love when people step in. Hello, Susan. It's wonderful
yeah.
to see everyone.
It's almost like when you're doing a Zoom and you keep getting like the little doorbell sound as people join. There's no
Yes.
doorbell here, but I'm like imagining it in my head as everybody enters. It's like ding dong. Ooh, guests have arrived. So we set out our good china, right?
Exactly. We get it all ready. You just reminded me of a recent experience on Zoom. I think we had it as well, where I had changed my name to a nickname from childhood due to a very funny story. There was a child when I was about 8 years old who couldn't say Natasha, but who could say pistachio. So she called me pistachio. Sort of stuck for a while. So I was sharing that in a Zoom call and changed my name, it was just a funny moment of doing that. But when I got off the Zoom, I didn't realize that I didn't change it. And so I ended up stepping into another one that just said pistachio, so it has that dark screen, and all of a sudden it's just pistachio across it, stepping into a call. And another with Jen where I changed it and said Natasha, aka pistachio, and had forgotten. So I love what we can do with changing our names.
Right? Well,
Yes.
it invites the conversation, which I
Mm-hmm.
think is such a big thing because what it did, I know in our call, was it invited storytelling, and
Yes.
storytelling is so important. Storytelling is a way that we are sharing, parts and pieces of ourselves with the
Yeah.
world, and it's also ways of being seen and of connecting with one another. Um,
Yeah. It
I
really
think
is. I hadn't
whenever
thought of.
yeah, whenever you tell a story, you're deepening your connection with somebody.
Yeah. This is 100% true. I hadn't thought about it that way. And it's true. There can be that sort of, when you start a conversation, it is um, what are we going to talk about? Yeah. It's like there are ways of settling into it, but that is an instant conversation starter. No question.
Yeah, yeah.
um, it's interesting because when I was thinking about, I love that you talked about starting a conversation or sharing a story. Is I've been thinking a lot about art, especially in sort of the mental health realm. Um, and I know we've sort of addressed some stuff along this line, but this idea that, art is a luxury, right? Like I saw, I think it's Americans for the Arts had an email that they sent out, and they were saying that there was talk of cuts happening to the arts once again. I feel like every year the arts is threatened
Yeah.
in some way, shape, or form to have budget cuts across the nation. And so often, even in schools, if they need to cut the budget, one of the first things to go is always the arts programs.
Yeah.
Um, and it really, maybe having worked in it in the arts, but like it's not a luxury. Um, it's that we learn so much, and not just skills as young children, from scissor cutting and measuring things, but problem solving and um, like there's all of these things that we do. The arts brings to life in us, gets us thinking in different ways. We talk in business about innovation, but we don't have it in our classrooms. But outside of the workforce, there are countries that actually will prescribe things like go for a walk in the woods, make a collage. Like there's a very real um, there's something very real about making something with your hands. And I was thinking about that specifically. It worries me as we're moving forward. And we spend so much time on screens, and we're so disconnected even from our own bodies sometimes. Hello, V. Good morning. Um, that I just don't understand how art can be thought of as simply a luxury. I know for me, especially at this age in my life where there's lots of shifts happening in my body, um, hormonally and all that stuff, art is a way
Women
to
out
bring
there,
me back.
hello. Yeah.
It is, we need to talk about this more, but like,
It's another one.
right. But like using the arts as a way to help when you're not in a good space or when you need to work stuff out. It's a way of connecting with yourself so you can find um a way to move through things when things are challenging. I'd love to know your, and that was like a lot in one thing, but I've been in my head about all the arts and how it helps us. It's not a luxury. It's really is something that we need
Yeah.
daily.
Yeah. I mean, you're speaking to what I do, you know,
Yeah.
to what I've been called to do in the world, and that is to help people realize it's not a luxury, and it's not like reserved for like five, you know, real artists out there in the world, but
Right.
um, that the arts or creativity, right, creative expression,
Mhm.
is a natural born gift that all of us are given. And um, oftentimes, you know, through society, we start labeling what does that mean,
Yeah.
and who's actually qualified to do it. And the truth is that when we lean into it, it really is, it's a way of becoming embodied, right? We can move things
Yeah.
through the body. You said like processing, but what
Yeah.
we're actually doing, because we're taking things that are in our mind, right? And
Mhm.
we're moving them through the body, like allowing, you know, the heart to get involved, allowing the blood vessels to get involved, allowing
Yeah.
like any stored energies and emotions to get involved in that process. And then we're pushing it outward, right? It like comes out through the hand. So we're no longer like just holding it in one spot.
Mhm.
It's moving things. And oftentimes when we do that, then it's like then the clarity comes through, then the innovation comes through. But when we're stuck or we're, you know, in like a high emotional space, it's like we can't process anything else. And creative expression, whether through dance, through the arts, through movement, like walking, even, you know, could be an art in that way where you're moving it through your body.
Yeah.
You know, anything, song, right? Like expressing
Yeah.
through your voice, doing it all together at once, right? Like spin
Yeah.
in a circle and dance and throw the paint and scream with your voice and like letting it all move through. And I mean, I think it's interesting because you talk about like school art programs, and
Mhm.
I think we would benefit from more process art
So that's what I
experiences in the school too.
literally, it's one of the things that I was most focused on and am in life is I can, not tooting my own horn in any way, shape, or form. I can teach your kid how to paint the sunflower thing like Van Gogh if you want me to sit down and do that, right?
Right.
But then we're merely having a child make a replication of something instead of moving it into what is that child's expression. So process art, and if you move it from children, right, who are open and more receptive and ready to play, up to a certain age, you see when it starts to get harder for them, move it to adults and we've got a whole different game, because adults are so fixated on the outcome.
Yeah.
What is this going to bring me? What is the outcome going to be? What is this going to look like? Solid, and we know it.
Yeah.
Like, what? And if you introduce process art, I think it's really interesting because it people oftentimes will be like, I can't do that.
Yeah.
I don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do. You just forgot. our,
Yes.
our society's so good about saying we need to be productive and have something. You need to show something at the end that shows that this time that you spent was worth it. But what if the time that you're spending is worth it just because you're creating and you discovered something along the way? Maybe it didn't rear its head right in that moment, but it rears its head later on when you're like, oh, and you make 16 different connections to something. It's
Right.
so easy, I think, for people to just dismiss art. And I think it's I think it's angering me because it's just like it really is so important. It is not we wonder why there's so many cases of everything from depression to mental health issues. Yeah, you sit in front of a screen all day and there's got to be, I've seen it, I've felt it, I've gone through it. But like, I am noticing too in my own children, them talking about using their hands more. I was having a conversation earlier this week with several people who have noticed other people being like, I want to just make something with my hands. It is a natural part of
Yeah.
us. So even when you said you did the forward motion of like moving it out with your hands, yeah, that makes sense to me because
Yeah.
there's something we need to do aside from this or
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, I mean, again, it's like, this is what
I
I'm
know.
like, this is why I'm here.
Yes.
To help
Yes.
people remember. And I think such a big part of that work that I do is creating safe space,
Yes.
because we have all these
Yeah.
stories, because we have that, it needs to look pretty, it needs to do something, like you have to have a certain skill set to be here. And really, it's like my magical intention is to create a space where I'm like, I'm going to give you some crayons and some
Hmm.
tempera paint and, like things.
Go nuts.
And I will say, right, like glitter, of course. Like, I'm giving you crayons today because you can't take yourself too seriously when you're holding a crayon, right? Like, this is,
Yes.
and I'm talking like room full of adults. I'm usually the youngest one in the room. And like, I'm bringing them crayons and construction paper. And I'm just
Yeah.
like, like,
Yeah.
but when we can tap into that, when we can feel safe enough to tap into that, when we can allow ourselves to express ourselves the way that we did before the art teacher, even in elementary school, told us this is how you paint something, this is how you do something.
Yeah.
Um, I'll add to this. My son, when he was in elementary school, um, I would always say, like, okay, what was your best part of the day? What was the worst part of your day? And for the record, he went to elementary school for 2 years, and then we homeschooled. So this is like kindergarten, first grade,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Kindergarten, first grade.
Yeah.
What was your least favorite part of the day? And he would say art.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they all had to do the same thing. It was like, today
Distraction.
we are going to paint an owl, and you will all paint the owl exactly how I paint the owl.
Mm-hmm.
I, there was no room for creativity.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, I'm me and I do what I do in the world. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, my heart is breaking right now. And he literally like grew up like painting with mud in the backyard with sticks.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like we would find ways to do self-expression. I remember one day, like, we did pudding paintings. It's
Right.
like, how do you
Yes.
break outside of like, this is what's safe to paint with, this is what's safe to create with. And he always told stories with his drawings and his paintings. And now
Yeah.
he's a writer, like,
Yeah.
at 18, like, that's his passion. And so because he was given the freedom to get at my home anyways,
Yeah.
to use self-expression for storytelling,
Hmm.
and um and not feel that limitation, right? Like, it has to look a certain way. Like,
Yeah.
that then developed into what his natural gifts were. But I think, when we look back at our own lives,
Hmm.
for those listening, for you, for me to remember this, like, there were likely key pivotal moments where somebody told us, like, creative expression looks a certain way or sounds a certain way,
Hmm.
or, you write a certain way.
Hmm.
And I just love that you brought this up, that, like, for our health, and
Hmm.
holy smokes, right now we all need an extra dose of like self-care and personal health.
Yeah.
Like, creative expression is such a powerful tool. There's so much research behind it too. Like,
There
this is
really is. Science has got up to
Natasha and
this.
I going, yeah, you should do more art.
Yeah.
There's a lot of science behind it.
I had I have so many thoughts at the same time. I had a student. I had several students who one of the biggest things, and I was very lucky when I was teaching in school. I was very lucky. I had a principal who was wonderful in terms of allowing me to explore, especially with the kids when they were really expressing themselves. I was so blessed in that respect. And I remember vividly there were several students that I'd come across who, especially when we started working with watercolor, because watercolor is so, you really have to like open up to that, right? You cannot control it the way you always want to. You have it's a lot. And I had a student who was just so brilliant at it. And I said to him, like, do you paint at home? And he was just like, no, I'm actually not allowed to paint at home. I don't have any art supplies at home. Mom doesn't want to have me make a mess. And I was like, I, my heart hurt. Like I actually didn't know what to do with that. Like I had to have a moment with myself as I responded because I was like, so I
Yeah.
ended up the students who came to me, and there were many, and I would know because sometimes we would do these asynchronous days where they would be at home, and sometimes I would be on Zoom with them. Sometimes they would take work home, but I knew a lot of students didn't have anything, and I would be like, "I'm going to give you my supplies. I want you to take them home." They always brought them back. They always brought them back with work. Like it was magical to have that happen, but to know that there were like no crayons or colored pencils or I mean there was nothing. I was just
Mm,
like I didn't know what to do with that. And I think um when I think about the expression that gets lost because it's like, well, I'm only doing it in this space and then I'm not allowed to do it over here. I'm told no. It was so hard.
yeah.
But it's I watched it even, now you and I were talking and you had me do a great poem. And from one line, I jumped off to a million other things without an outlet. It's so hard. And that's you feel like your expression has it's a container. This can only be over here when it's our whole life. And I'll take it even to if anybody is in New York or anywhere in the country right now or the world. I've got some friends overseas who are cheering for the Knicks as we are headed towards, I hope, a huge win. But I have been in the city for the last couple of games, and what I have experienced, I know that the news stories will tell you all the bad stuff, missing the good stuff. The good stuff is I have watched people who don't know each other embrace each other in public spaces as a ball gets thrown. I have watched people dance on the street with one another, jump up and down like small children. Like I have goosebumps. All of that energy that we are missing. You don't realize, right, how badly you're missing it until you're in it and you're like, oh,
Mm,
it just feels so good to be with all of these strangers in the city, like enjoying a moment together. All of that expression, too. It feels like there is this just explosion from people of joy that I've seen that kind of, gets tamped down in the regular day to day
yeah.
stuff. And here it is just exploding for this team, which is great and so much fun to watch. But it is like it is I think on that bigger level that people need that expression, which is what you've talked about several
Yeah.
times. Like expression is just so important. How do we let that out?
Yeah.
It kind of fascinates me. And I'm going to go back for just a minute here.
Yeah, I was seeing we had a lot of
I know.
comments coming through. I'm gonna, while
So,
you're looking for the other one, I'm gonna
yes.
just quickly comment on taking a diet for the summer, and the
Yeah.
diet being a mental break, or
Yes.
break from digital media, digital diet, all
I
digital,
actually
right? Mental health.
I love that Kim mentioned this, and I love this. I was following a woman recently who decided that she was going to do no social media for June, and she's doing her day by day what it's like, and I have to tell you, I'm it's a big contemplation right now because I am loving what I'm seeing, and I know there's like the hard of like missing it, right? Because we're all
Yeah.
addicted to it, but what space could it open? So Kim, I think that's fantastic. It's like amazing, and it's super inspiring. And Jen, I'm glad you read that. And V had said, let's create something that shows that what we are feeling, like throwing paint, rip paper. Let's move mountains. Let's throw shit. I'd say punch someone in the throat, but that's not art. Yeah, little different from art, but I get it. There's that expression
But
for
I will
towards
say
it.
the throat is the center of self-expression. So
It is
maybe
though.
like some tapping in the throat, even for yourself, like open that energy center up. Just not
Yeah,
that's a different thing.
that's a totally different thing. But it's yes, and blue is the color for it.
Yeah,
It's one of the chakra points. Blue is the
yeah.
color for it. So wearing blue or something along those lines helps to bring that out. And then we had gotten to V's laughing. I thought you'd like that. Um, um, but Kim, I'm inspired by that digital diet, and it is maybe something we should like discuss at some point because it'd be interesting to have to do something and see what it's like for people and like have them share because Um, yeah, I feel like that it would be amazing to see what the space would be like that you open up from, like, when you would be scrolling or checking in or doing the thing or grabbing the phone. Um, what else could you be doing? What else could you make?
It's something that I've done at least once a year, where I'll just like take a full month off. Usually
Yeah.
that ends up longer. You know, it's like
Yeah.
I will start with, I'm gone for a month. And for those of you that are running any sort of business, like here's a little tip: put on your either your profile picture or your your Facebook page banner, your business website, so there's still links so
Yes.
people can find you.
Yeah.
um, and make a post, especially again if you're running a business, like, hey, I won't be checking Messenger, but please feel free to send me a message through my website and I'll respond. So you have some ways, again, you're not just like, I'm shutting down my business for a month, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's for me, they've always been beneficial. And like I said, usually last longer than what I set out to do because it feels so
Yeah.
good. It's like when you
Yeah.
do like a 30-day like cleanse, it's like,
Yeah.
oh, I cut sugar out for 30 days and my body feels amazing. Like
Yeah.
I should do that more often,
Yeah.
Yeah. And then fill the time with creativity,
I
like
mean, yeah.
in
So
some
many
way
things that
or
you could do.
form.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. This has been a very rich conversation.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful to have been able to talk about it. It's hot right now in the room. I apologize. It's very warm in here because if I turn my AC on, it gets really loud. So I can't do that. um, but I want to say thank you to everyone who has been here today and hung out with us and shared. Yes, I agree. Dance and laugh. Those are all of these things that um, we don't do enough. Maybe that's why. Love you too, V. I think that maybe that's why watching people spontaneously break into dance or jump like that, like for 5 minutes, just continue jumping or grabbing each other in just celebration, has been so inspiring because it's in all of us. But it's not something you see every day, right? I'm not walking down the street in the city. People are like jumping around and hugging each other. Um, so when you see
But
stuff like
imagine
that,
if they did.
it would be imagine that on a New York City subway train. That's all I gotta say about
Oh.
that. um, but it's inspiring. Is this Lightning? Has Lightning come to join us at the
Yes.
end? Hello, Lightning. We love you.
Make his final
See?
appearance before we call it a
Yes.
day.
Yes.
And get the all important. Get to see him like tail in my face. Yeah, there we go.
Lightning is very excited to share and thank you for expressing yourself.
Mm, very good at expressing himself. He does not need any like the chakra work.
um, thank you, everyone. Jen, what would you leave everybody with before we part?
Um, what came to my mind is I want to draw a picture of people walking down the street and like hugging and dancing. Like that's it. I
Do
want to
it.
see everybody's picture of like what would the idea like everybody's expressing themselves little moment look like.
All right.
Process art, like no perfection. Yeah.
Pure process art. Pure process art.
Yeah. Just
I
enjoy.
love that. All right, everyone. Thank you for being here. We love this time with you. We love when you share. And we wish you the best week. We'll see you next Thursday for more creative fun. Take care.
Bye.